It was 1967. The world was restless, hungry for heroes, and ready for change. Rock and roll was rewriting music. Muhammad Ali had turned boxing into poetry. And in the dimly lit halls of dojos across America, another revolution was brewing. One born not of fists, but of philosophy. Karate had arrived, and on a single night at Madison Square Garden, two men would meet and reshape its destiny forever. In the 1960s, karate in America was still an exotic mystery. It had drifted across the Pacific after World War II, carried by returning soldiers who had studied the art in Japan and Okinawa. It was strict, spiritual, and above all, disciplined. But America was different. In a nation of rebels and dreamers, karate began to evolve. Less ritual, more competition. Less mysticism, more motion. And leading this charge was a young man with movie star looks and a warrior's focus, Joe Lewis. Born in North Carolina in 1944, Joe Lewis had the power of a heavyweight and the posture of a soldier. After serving in the Marines, he trained in Okinawa under some of Japan's most disciplined masters. When he returned to America, he was faster, stronger, and more explosive than anyone had ever seen. By 1967, Lewis was unstoppable. His name filled gyms and whispered in locker rooms from coast to coast. He wasn't just a competitor. He was the embodiment of American martial ambition. Powerful, confident, fearless. But in California, another man was watching. Quietly, patiently, with something different in his eyes. His name was Carlos Ray Norris. The world would later call him Chuck. A few years older than Lewis, Norris didn't have the same natural athleticism or Marine Corps reputation. He was methodical, almost scientific in his approach. Where Lewis embodied raw strength, Norris represented precision. He studied angles, timing, breathing, the geometry of combat. Friends would later say that Chuck Norris wasn't fighting the man in front of him. He was fighting himself. Every mistake was a lesson, every defeat a question to be solved. And for months leading up to Madison Square Garden, that question had a name: Joe Lewis. On a chilly night in 1967, the Garden was alive with anticipation. For the first time, karate was stepping on to one of America's greatest stages. Spectators didn't know exactly what they were about to see, but they could feel it was something historic. The event was billed as the All-American Karate Championships. Behind the bright lights, it represented something much deeper. The East meeting the West, tradition colliding with ambition. In one corner stood Joe Lewis, the champion, the enforcer, the face of American karate. In the other, Chuck Norris, calm, calculated, carrying the quiet weight of every loss and lesson he'd ever endured. What unfolded that night wasn't just a competition. It was a conversation between two philosophies. Joe Lewis believed in dominance, to strike first, to strike hard, to show that karate could command respect in any arena. Chuck Norris believed in patience, to read the rhythm, to control the space, to let discipline overcome strength. There were no theatrics, no bloodlust, just intensity. Every exchange carried meaning, every pause a reflection of years of devotion. When the fight ended, the applause was thunderous. The audience had seen not just power and precision, but balance. It was as though karate had finally found its American identity. Chuck Norris, with quiet composure, proved that calculation could match power. Joe Lewis, in his defeat, showed a kind of grace that few champions ever do. The torch had passed, but not in bitterness. Both men walked away changed, aware that what they had just done would echo for decades. In the years that followed, something remarkable happened. Instead of bitterness, a bond formed. Joe Lewis and Chuck Norris became lifelong friends, brothers forged in mutual respect. They would train together, teach together, and push each other to new heights. Lewis went on to pioneer full-contact karate, blending traditional form with the realism of fighting. Norris became a global icon, spreading martial arts through film and philosophy. Each carried a part of the other into history. They represented two halves of a whole. Lewis, the force that brought karate into the arena. Norris, the discipline that gave it soul. Together, they didn't just change karate, they Americanized it without ever losing its honor. Today, more than half a century later, karate tournaments are broadcast worldwide. Children in every corner of the globe tie their first white belts and bow, unaware that their simple gesture connects back to a night in 1967, when two Americans proved that spirit could be stronger than borders. The legacy of that fight was not victory or defeat, it was transformation. Karate had entered Madison Square Garden as a foreign art and left as a modern sport. It became faster, freer, and more accessible, paving the way for generations of athletes, martial artists, and even future mixed martial arts champions. That honesty, that pursuit of expression, was what Norris and Lewis had shared. In their struggle, karate found its truth. Joe Lewis continued to teach and inspire until his passing in 2012. He remained a soldier at heart, blunt, fearless, unyielding. Chuck Norris carried their shared mission beyond the dojo into television, film, and philanthropy. He made karate visible to millions who might not have known its roots. Yet behind every image of the unstoppable hero was the memory of that night, the roar of the crowd, the taste of humility, the handshake of respect. Because before he was a star, Chuck Norris was a student, and before he was an icon, Joe Lewis was a teacher. History remembers great moments, but greatness itself is rarely born in victory. It's found in transformation, in the courage to face an equal and still bow with respect. That night in Madison Square Garden was more than a fight. It was a dialogue between two men, two philosophies, and two worlds colliding in perfect symmetry. One represented power, the other, patience. And together, they gave karate its heartbeat. When the lights dimmed and the crowd faded, the echo of their steps lingered, reminding the world that true warriors are not remembered for the blows they land, but for the bridges they build. And that was the night karate became American.